Welcome back to the Ray Edwards Show. I am so excited for you because today we're going to cover how to take your content and turn it into a thriving business. Your content, not somebody else's. Without paying for ads, going broke doing that, without burning out, posting on social media, wondering, why am I doing all this? And we're going to get a clear step-by-step system that we use continuously to achieve $10,000 product launches and more. More importantly, the person I'm going to introduce you to uses the same system. And the person who is my guest is Brian Switalski. He's a very good friend of mine. Full disclosure, I love this man and his wife. They're wonderful people. Brian has a passion for helping purpose-driven entrepreneurs develop effective marketing so they can step into their dreams and get things done. He's worked with me, with my company, with Creighton Arita, the CEO of EK Family Companies, and with Melly James, the co-founder of Mana Up and president of the Hawaiian Venture Capital Association, and many more. He hangs out with people like Don Miller and Russell Brunson, and he's just a superstar and a great human being. Brian worked with us to develop Clarity Scribe, our unique AI product that is for creator economy-based people who want to build their business and do what we talked about earlier, turning your content into a thriving business. Brian is what I think of as the penultimate student. He's something you dream of when you're in the teaching business. He actually listens and does things that you suggest. And not only that, he often makes improvements and comes back and says, Ray, check this out, what we're doing. That's what I live for. I love that. You and Noel both fit that category. You are doers of the word, not hearers only. And I love that about you. And now, you started doing that stuff for me, helped me with my social media distribution, with the shorts that we do. It's funny because we know each other. We talk so often, and yet I was nervous getting on to do this podcast because I wanted to do it justice for you and for Noel and for our listeners. And I haven't been nervous before a podcast in quite a while. Would you tell the story about 12 likes and $5?
Yeah. Wow. That was a long time ago. I was just starting out in creating my own products and courses, and I was teaching WordPress at the time, like how people could build their own WordPress website and get that out. And at the time, I didn't know much about marketing other than, you put up a pretty website and it looks cool, right? So I was a graphic and web designer, and I thought if it looks good, that it's gonna sell. And I could not have been more wrong. My social media at that time, I'd put up a post and it would get a little bit of attention, a couple likes here and there, mostly by family members, and my sales were virtually none. I did end up getting one sale, which for me at the time was a big win, but it was a $5 sale. And my goal with that product was really to have a course that was available to everyone. Anybody could afford it. Because at the time I was a broke graphic design and web designer. And I was like, I wanted a course for me that anybody could jump into. And I thought, if it was super accessible, it would sell like hotcakes. And I could not have been more wrong. I got the one customer, and that was it. It was crickets on my website. And I remember at the time, I had about $5 to my name in my bank account. It was a crazy story. I was walking down the road, and I was like, Lord, it'd be nice to go inside of a coffee shop and actually sit down and drink a cup of coffee with my laptop and stuff and feel like I actually belong there. Um, and Funny thing enough, a dear friend of mine from the mainland, they ended up sending me a Starbucks gift card in the mail. So when I went in to open the mailbox that day, I was surprised, and there was a gift card to Starbucks right there in the mail. So I really appreciate that point of life in my story because it just shows how much I feel like the Lord just really cares uh, for people in those situations and just cares about the small stuff. Like it wasn't like a just give me a Starbucks gift card, Lord.
Yeah.
Um, but it showed me he pays attention to that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
he
to get
does.
but to get back to the course, um, it really didn't amount to anything sales wise, and that was really tough. And I wanted people to be able to learn what I knew about the platform, to be able to launch their own website, and to be able to share their message with the world. And but I was missing some critical components to that. It wasn't until I fixed those critical components, and would you believe it, a lot of it has to do with the words that are being spoken on social media, the words that happen on the website that makes a world of a difference. And so I went and once I implemented all of those changes, I actually ended up increasing my price. I went from $5 selling this product for $5 to selling it for something like 197, and it
Wow.
sold like hotcakes with these changes in place that it ended up bringing in $10,000 that year. Now it wasn't overnight for that situation. It wasn't overnight, but it ended up going from $5 and years of no sales on that, just the one, to a $10,000 launch with that online course.
Wow. That's, it's important for people to hear stories like that. I've got my own story like that. And I remember Alex Mondozian, one of my earliest teachers, asked me one time, he said, Ray, do you know what it takes to become a professional in business? I said, no. What does it take? He held up a dollar bill. He said, $1. If somebody will pay you $1, you just went from amateur to pro.
Mm.
And it's kind of funny, but I think it's true. That's why so many people save their first dollar that they make in their business, because it makes a change in us. One of the things I admire about you so much, I don't think I've ever told you this, is the intentionality with which you go about creating names, products, brands, and images. You're very intentional. I wish I was intentional as you are. I'm just like, I make up a cool name. I'm like, this is what we're going to call it. But can we start? I want to go through a couple of things you've created and ask you, how did that come about? How did your company come to be called Leverage Clarity?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't actually get asked that very often. Um, Essentially, I believe in finding things that have leverage in life. Um, One of the things that I've seen is when you focus on the things that actually move the needle and you really double down on those things, that success follows. And that's principles not just in marketing but across multiple different areas. So I think of leverage as kind of like a law of the universe, but clarity is one of those pieces that I believe give, and I have been a witness to, creates massive leverage for businesses and for marketing and for individuals even to just have some level of clarity about where they're going in their life. Now, I'm not a life coach or anything like that, but I have found that when people get really clear about what it is that they're here to be doing and creating and serving others, that a lot of success follows from that. But even more so when their words get very clear, when their marketing starts speaking from not just like a ramble or a run-on sentence, but actually comes from a place of their heart, and they have that clarity, that success follows.
That's so true. And I I can't remember who I heard say this first, but in the copywriting world, there is a phrase about what makes copy powerful is not hype, it's clarity. And I've that's something that has stuck in my head for years, and I believe it's true. If you ever get confused, if you're writing copy and you think, I don't know what to do next, just be clear. Start with something simple and clear. Now, how about Multiply? You have a program called Multiply. Talk a little bit about what that is and how did you come up with the name for that? Why is that important?
That's a good question. So multiply really came out of the idea that um, I wanted to be able to multiply things, not just what I was doing, but really multiply the impact that it was making. And so the big idea behind it is that you can actually multiply your effect. In other words, your impact, your influence, and the things that you do without multiplying your effort. So a little secret that not many people know about me is that growing up, I considered myself quite lazy. When it came to yard work, I would always be thinking of how can I rake up this pile of leaves better, faster, build some kind of contraption to make that kind of a thing work. So my brain had always run on a an efficiency kind of drive because I didn't want to expend that much time doing things that I didn't want to do. And growing up, I kind of put a label on it of laziness. That's laziness. But what I really figured out is that I do enjoy work. I do enjoy doing good work. I just want to work on the things that that actually matter, that are actually going to produce some kind of result. And so that's very similar to the people who end up following us, is that these are people who don't want to put so much effort into all of these things that are just going to fall flat. We really want to multiply the things and the intentionality behind the things that really are going to move the needle in their business in regards to the sales that they make, the connections to the people that they want to serve, and so on.
I love that. All right, so that I believe is at the root of the upcoming workshop you're going to be doing called the MX7 Creator Workshop. I love the name. I love the name Creator Economy. I'm so amused by the fact that in a world that likes to talk about how we've outgrown superstitious beliefs like God,
Hmm.
no, you haven't. You'll see. But I'll leave that to him. But I love it, the fact that so many people in the world of online creation and business are either agnostic or atheist and very vocal about it, and yet all calling it the creator economy. Isn't that interesting? So let's talk about the creator workshop. What is it? Who's it right for? And what are we going to do in that workshop?
Yeah, so the workshop is really, it's a 5 week uh workshop. Each week has a couple days that will go over just about an hour session each, where we'll take a deep dive into a couple different categories that are really going to do just that. It's going to multiply your income. It's going to multiply what it is that you're doing in terms of the effort that you put into your business. You'll start to get to see traction in those 5 weeks. Now, in the past, I've taken people through what would be more of like a 90-day process. And in this 90-day process, it would be a workshop style kind of thing. And it's been one of those things that I've seen the greatest results for the people that we serve. I believe nothing else really hits the nail on the head like going to a workshop, because you're not just it's not just a course, you're learning and you're doing. And if anything else I've learned in life is the shorter that you can make that gap between learning something new and doing something, the more success, more traction you end up having. And so we've taken that 90-day concept and shrunk it down, taken out all of the fluff and anything extra, just the most essential, critical things to be able to produce that launch in just 5 weeks.
And what I love about what you just said is I think the best way to learn something is by doing it. I think I love to read, and I admit it, I love to watch YouTube videos and courses. But the danger for me is I could sit and watch courses all day long and not get squat done. So I force myself now when I'm going through a course to actually do it as I go. I'm like, Edwards, you can't watch the next video till you do what's in this one. And that will make all the difference for you. And what I love about the workshop is I've seen you develop this process and hone it over time. And you've taught at some of my mastermind meetings to my folks who come to those. And it's always the most popular session, more popular than any of mine, because people get stuff done. I love that. And that's what's going to happen in this workshop. the things that Brian and Noel will be focused on in the workshop are the right things. That's a huge part of the equation. You've got to be working on the right stuff and setting aside the stuff that's not going to move the needle for you. That's what will make your business move. So let me back up a few steps. Person coming to this, thinking about coming to the workshop, and you can't even buy a ticket while we're talking about it right now. You can get on the wait list to see if it's right for you. Then if you want to get a ticket, you can. So what kind of person is the right person that you think this person should definitely be at this workshop? Who is that?
Yeah, this is for really designed for coaches. It's designed for consultants and anybody who would consider themselves a creator. So whether that's a product that you've made or you're showing up as a personality on social media, these are the type of people that are a really good fit for what we're going to be producing. And in part, we're looking at people who have, you can go from I've never done any kind of a product launch before, or I've got a product and there's no sales pouring in, to I have a product and some sales are rolling in, but I'd really like to perfect this process. We really meet all of those kind of things because again, we're focusing on those things that are really going to impact. We've worked with companies that are just starting out and get this system down and start building their business immediately. And then for other businesses that are, quite a few millions in already, apply these things for the first time and double and even triple their business. So the principles are there at whatever stage you are, but it will really focus on those things that are most essential and not the basics, but just essential foundational pieces that produce those results.
Wonderful. And is there any material about how to create an offer that makes people want to buy?
Oh, there's this really great piece, a really crucial component inside of there that whether if you don't have an offer already or you're looking to really sweeten up that offer if it's not as attractive as it could be, I have a really good friend. His name's Ray Edwards, who's putting together a really, to my knowledge, really hasn't been released in any way like this before. Do you want to talk a little bit about your segment?
Yeah, I modestly brought it up, so yes, of course I do. Um, I'm very excited about this, Brian, because I was sharing some research I'd been doing and some copy I was working on for something else, and you said this is like a book. You should make this a product, and I realized, holy cow, you're right. It's called the Heroic Offer Framework, and the idea is there's a way when you make an offer and you make it the right way, you're thinking of your customer first. They're the hero. They're the ones who are heroic. And you're figuring out how can I make them into a hero and make it easy for them as possible. And so went through this whole process of building this framework. And then I did something I haven't done much of in the past. Instead of just making something up and then seeing that it works and being okay with leaving it at that, I went and did the research, and I looked to see, is there science that confirms, like through what we know through about neurobiology, neuropsychoimmunology, persuasion techniques, sales techniques. Are there actual principles in psychology and persuasion that back up the components that make the heroic offer framework work so well? And it turns out there's lots of scientific support for it. That got me even more jazzed. And then I had an epiphany. I don't know if I've even told you about this, but I was talking with someone else and they said, well, okay, there's all these people out there telling you how to make big offers and offers to sell big, expensive things now. Seems like everybody's doing it. What makes this different? And I launched into this tirade and I said, what bothers me about most of those other people is they're out there yapping about you can charge 10 times as much, 20 times as much, but they don't have any way to justify it. Their justification is instead of making $10,000, you'll make $100,000. Well, where does that leave your customer? Often broke. So I said to the person I was talking to, I said, here's the difference. I won't make this offer or suggest anybody else make this offer unless I have a way I know is so powerful. We have to find something so powerful in the offer that you already have, and it's almost always there, that it's worth 10 times what you've been charging for it. And your prospect, your customer, would be willing to pay 10 times more than that price. And they said, but that sounds really hard. And I said, yes, that's why you get paid more. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go through this whole heroic offers framework. I'm going to show you how to dig and find that value proposition. And here's the best part. You're going to feel so good when you go to your customers and you say, look, I know you've never invested this kind of money with me before, but here's why this is worth $50,000 to you. And it's worth 10 times more than that. Let me show you with the math. Let me show you how it's going to work. And you can demonstrate for them before they make any investment, before they make any commitment. You can show them why it will work. And they will ask you if they can buy. That's what we're going to be doing. Oh, I'm so excited about this.
I'm so stoked. Now, one of the things I'm thinking about is, especially for creators and people who are putting together their product for the first time, or maybe they're kind of like consider themselves like a maker. Like I know some people who they've got products that are like, they sell for $10 or something like that. It's a physical good. Does this heroic offer work for them?
Absolutely. Because here's the thing I think makers miss. They don't see it. And it's not a flaw in the maker. It's what makes them such wonderful people, because they are so concentrated and focused on the making and on the art and the craft. They don't see the value. It doesn't turn into a commercial exchange in their mind. But the thing is, I was just talking to an artist last week she said, I've been selling my prints on Etsy. I get $10 or $15 a print. I don't see how I can possibly charge $1,000 for a piece of my art or $10,000 for a piece of my art. I was quoting some prices that some of my other friends are getting for their art, and her art is every bit as good. And she said, I don't see, you always talk about, Ray, solve a problem for them. How does my art solve a problem? It doesn't solve a problem. And other makers are the same way. How does the jewelry that I offer solve a problem? How does the cream for your skin that I make, how does that solve a real problem? How does the book I wrote about, the detective stories I write? Here's how. It gives people joy. It gives people happiness. It gives them, if they're reading a book, it gives them a chance to escape into another world and forget their problems for a while. If it's art, it gives them something to gaze at that they think is beautiful, that inspires them. They somehow hear the echoes of the voice of their creator in that art, in that music. So, yes, it works for Etsy, for makers, for artists, for poets. Poets. Give me some poets, because poetry is so valuable and it's so undervalued. I'm on a bit of a mission here.
I love it. I was just thinking through one of my clients, and they create candles and scented oils and things like this. And I was working on some copy with them for their website, and they're like, I just don't know that we solve a problem. Things just spell nice. And it's like, yeah, that's one thing. But if you think about like the people who are really going to benefit the most from a candle or a scented thing like this, you're changing the atmosphere in your home.
Yes.
Like that's a huge thing. And having that kind of like space where you can think clearly, just enjoy the space you're in. That's the problem, is the home's not like that right now. It's kind of like the whole like got milk situation, where like their whole thing is like preaching not the product. It's the absence of the product that's the problem, right? Like it's like when you've eaten too much peanut butter, or you've, downed a whole tub of chocolate ice cream, and you need something, to take care of that. Sometimes those things, it's not what we would think that they are. But when you pull that right lever and you show the world an absence of what that thing is, it makes all the difference.
All right. Thank you so much, Brian. And I encourage you to join us for the workshop and to have a great weekend. Take care of yourself, my friends. The world is kind of chaotic right now. Show some love and kindness and grace. And until next time, I pray that God will do more for you than you can possibly ask or even imagine, because he will. Just wait and see. Talk to you soon. God bless.